Hello everybody, I'm back with another video for you today, and this time round I'm going to be covering a more refined version of Detlaff. I did talk about him a few days ago, kind of a bit of on-the-fly list with higher vampire and a lot of consume effects and tempo plays and whatnot. This is a more controlling version of Detlaff, and it is widely considered to be maybe the best deck in the meta right now. A lot of people playing Detlaff, a lot of people finding it very powerful. This is the version I've been using to climb on pro ladder. Got a pretty reasonable score with it, up there, in the top 50 or whatever for now. And yeah, I just wanted to share this, of course, refined version, and talk about some of the card inclusions, some of the different things that this deck is running if you want to experiment around with it a little bit. It is one of those kind of tier 0 decks, in my opinion, that is just a little bit better at everything compared to most other decks in the meta, if not all of them that there are. Yeah, so let's just jump into the cards. Now, of course, a lot of them will be the same from the last Detlaff video that I shared, but there are quite a few that are different, namely the bronze core, the gold package, as well a little bit. So what do we got? Well, the bronzes, we're pretty much just playing good stuff all around, the best that Monsters has to offer. We have Neckers, they're a little bit vulnerable to Gimpy, so if you're worried about that, you can throw them out for, something else, maybe Bruxa for the Thrive, or Necker Warrior or something like that. But Neckers are perfectly okay most of the time. You drop them in a round, you don't necessarily need to win, and if they stick, they're really, really good. If they don't, then okay, maybe they trade for a gold card, and your opponent won't have that resource for later to kill your Ekamaras or whatever, potentially. We have Plumars, which are, pretty good value bronze. They're just straightforward. 5 for 4 and then 7 for 4 potentially. Not a bad one to have in there. The bleeding is always nice to potentially set up death blows for your leader ability and for Gregoire and stuff like that. Not a problem at all. You typically want to play these early on, or maybe when you have both of them later on in the game it's okay, but they're, typically a more round one sort of play, as are all your bronzes usually. When you're just playing any deck in Gwent at the moment, you want to play bad cards earlier on, right, a lot of the time. Anyway, we've got Foglets next, which are really good with Cyclops. We also skipped over Arcspore, and these are all Deathwish units, which obviously are synergizing with things like Cyclops, which we also have 2 copies of, and the Burress Crone. We don't have Karen or anything, but just having, 2 effectively Deathwish units that you want to destroy with these effects allows you to reliably get Cyclops value. Without Arcspore, you might end up having a dead Cyclops in hand round 1 sometimes, more often than you otherwise would, and it's just a bit clunky if you don't have that little Deathwish boy in there to get some value. You could play an Ancient Foglet, but I think Arcspore's a bit more reliable. It's never dead, it's a 4 for 4 minimum, so it's okay, and yeah. We also have the Wyverns, they're just incredibly good, 5 for 5 minimum, and then you can get even more with the Thrive value, of course, so just a good card, you may as well throw it in. A little bit better than Drowner, I think, because Drowner doesn't move many targets in the meta right now. Only Northern Realms really has row-locked units, and the Drowners die very easily to the 2 damage pings of a lot of Death Blow effects, Detlaff, etc. So, yeah, Wyvern, very good. Drowner, not so much. You could run them, though. Riders are of utmost importance, very strong card, of course, for a bit of thinning. In the gold package, we still have Crones. They're just extremely good for the removal, for the utility, for the proccing your Foglet or whatever in round 1, with the Bruess for carryover, effectively. Very, very powerful set of cards there. We have Gimpy to counter Dryad Fledglings from Dana, Neckers from Detlaff, Ekamaras from Detlaff, and quite a few other things. Volunteers in Scoia'tael are very popular, and thinning from Imperial Brigades as well in Nilfgaard is quite common. So a ton of targets for Gimpy to hit. Even in Skellige, maybe the Bear Abominations or whatever, you can line them up for Gimpy values. So just an all-around good card at the moment. Nithral's also pretty damn good. You can maybe hit a Fringe Portal or Sword or whatever to get the damage on it. Otherwise, you're just removing artifacts, and a 5 for 6, not the end of the world if you don't hit a target. Also able to proc Thrive potentially on the Wyverns very easily. So not bad at all, and you're removing the trap that is often played in Dana. Very popular deck at the moment with Crushing Trap. Nithral deals with that excellently, that's why we've got him in there. We have Osrel to eat Count Coldwell. Now, this combo usually works. Sometimes you'll end up maybe not getting them both at the right time. Maybe Osrel will be kind of weak or weaker, but it's usually pretty good. One issue with the deck can be that you're struggling to get the highest unit, but I typically find that Coldwell's not that much of a liability. You play him, and then you can eat him with Burress, or you can throw him with Cyclops later on, and that's usually totally fine, and then Osrel can pick up the slack and maybe be the biggest unit for you at some other stage in the round. If you're bleeding, of course, Coldwell in round 2 is amazing, and then Osrel to kind of push tempo later on as well is great. So there's that. We then just have a ton of removal in the other golds. We have Protoflader, which is perfectly fine. 3 damage removal, 10 for 10, which is just really good when you get that dominance proc off, which, you know, usually you will be able to get. We have Geralt to deny any tool units, especially good when the opponent maybe plays tactical advantage to boost a unit up. Protect it from your other removals, your Ifrit, your Bloodlust, etc. And then they find that your Geralt just smashes them in the face anyway, removing that engine or whatever that they tried to protect. So you've got all this removal, you're able to combo these 4 damage pings with your hero ability to kind of remove any engine that you need to, and just, yeah, to set up the Detlaff later in the game as well if you don't have targets for it. Gregoire, similar story. You've got the 4 damages to help with him. Cyclops, Wyvern pings. There's a lot of damaging effects. That's kind of why it's called Control Detlaff, or it's dubbed that by a lot of people. A lot of damaging effects, a lot of ways to set up strength to the right amount for you to knock it down and destroy those engines in the process. All in all, very, very, very powerful deck, I must say. I was just cleaning people up with this the previous couple of days with really not a lot of effort. There's some thinking that goes into, you know, countering certain lines of play from the opponent, saving certain cards for other cards, like Regis against whatever, Roach, Yutta, whatever it might be, saving that Gimpy for the fledglings, etc. There's a bit of nuance. You maybe have to mulligan the Geralt away in certain matchups. But all in all, a very powerful deck. You could think about running maybe Cleaver. I see that card quite a lot, maybe for Protoflader or something. There's definitely ways you can play around with this version. It's not necessarily the exact best version, but I've been having a ton of success with it, and this is very similar to what is widely considered to be the best deck at the moment. Anyway, let's jump into a game or two and see how this one plays. Okay, so first opponent gonna be Ithne, actually Sirpumpkn. Interesting. We'll see what we can do in this one. Should be an interesting fight. Sirpumpkn, of course, a very well-known streamer, YouTuber for Gwent. So with the mulligans here, what do we want? Well, Neckers are not great against Ithne. We could play them in round 1 just to get rid of them if we're happy with kind of losing a bit of tempo. I think I'd rather, with the rest of the cards here, maybe push a little bit. So let's get rid of one of those, and then Foglet as well is not going to be too playable here. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll see what we're going for with this one. Want to get those riders out round 1, of course. No Foglet trigger in hand, which is a bit annoying, and no Crone to kind of synergize with the others, but we'll see what we can make work. We do have Count Coldwell as well, but he could be a bit risky here since we don't have any way to kind of negate the downside of his, you know, disloyalty, I suppose. So Ithne going to be the first play there. Bricking riders for now. We could just go out with a regular kind of Wyvern, get that Thrive potentially going, and I kind of like that. We'll just hit Ithne down a little bit, make sure we start getting value on the Thrive ability if we play more cards. Probably it will get removed, but we're also potentially setting up the Rider play, should we need that. And we'll see what we want to go for here in terms of the other plays. Coldwell, maybe viable, we'll see. We can always try to protect him, boost him up or whatever. Looks like they're not going to go for the tactical advantage, so that gives us a pretty nice opening for riders. I want to get them out here and make sure we don't end up kind of bricking that for later on. So we'll go with those. And we can probably hit with the Plumard and try to set up Gregoire this round as well. Gimpy going, not going to be needed to be saved against Ithne. Against Dana, you definitely do want to keep that for the fledglings if you can, I think. But here, you know, we can definitely think about not saving that card. So let's go with that Plumard. Don't mind using that resource here. On the Panther, they will be able to potentially tactical advantage to, you know, deny the Gregoire on it, but we'll just pose that threat in a turn or two. It looks like the advantage is going to be used on just Sentinels. That presents a pretty damn good Gimpy target, so I think we're going to take it here. And then we have Coldwell maybe to take the round after that, if we so choose. Winning round 1, not the most important thing, but it's always nice to have last say and control over the game and the pace and everything. It's always better to have that than not, I suppose. We'll be able to answer things like Gregoire with Geralt if we draw it in the deck, especially nicely. You know, if we have control there. They're going to be at the sword. It's pretty damn effective. But we have Gregoire, Coldwell, you know, to push more tempo here. So we're by no means out of the round yet, despite that play and multiple leader charges being used here. So Gregoire seems pretty okay to me. I think we want to get rid of Count as well. But yeah, Gregoire first. The opponent probably has their own, is one thing we need to be a little bit concerned about, since they want to set it up on these guys, right? I guess if we trade Gregoire's, it's not too bad. The only issue is then our Geralt might be dead later on. So I can honestly see a consideration for just passing in this spot. Also, don't mind playing Caldwell. When Gregoire comes down, we can then pass. That might even be a better option, I think. I kind of like that. And, you know, they can yoink it to the side of the board. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. We can always eat it from their graveyard if we have Osrel in hand. And that just is kind of a carryover play if we're drawing Osrel later. Definitely want to get him out earlier rather than later on, right? Oh, it looks like just Ifrit's going to come down. So no Gregoire yet. We could play him if we want to kind of commit even more to this round. If we're able to win it after them using already 2 leader charges, then that would be really nice. Do we need to, though? We could also play Ifrit. I mean, we're going to have to play some good stuff here if we do want to push and win. We could also just give up the round, potentially. Kind of a tricky one. I think having last say is good enough of an incentive to push a bit harder here. So let's go with Gregoire. And we can maybe go with the Crone after to kind of boost the other Crone up a bit. Make it a little bit stronger. That's going to be the pass from them. Could also go with the Foglet, but nah, there's no need to do that. Ifrit we could play if we're maybe wanting to kind of empower the other Crones with the Brewess. I think it's maybe fine to just say, you know what, we might not draw it and just play a Crone as a bit of carryover, effectively. It should be okay. It's very marginal either way. Basically, if we draw the, if we use the Brewess later, then we might miss out on a point here by doing this play. If we don't, then we're going to gain a point. So, you know, kind of works either way. I think it's going to be harder to use the Crone than to not use it, because we won't have a good spot to play it. Maybe in round 2, I guess we could try. You know what? In that case, I've talked myself into playing Ifrit here. Let's do that then, because we might be able to push some pretty heavy tempo with Detlaff in round 2, for example. If we choose to go for the Foglet and then the Crone or something like that. At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, this should be working kind of fine. Let's go to Archspore, not a great one. We can potentially play this Foglet Cyclops combo if we want to go for a bit of pressure here. We didn't draw the good old Brewess, so that's a bit unfortunate. It might also be fine just to pass to round 3, so I'm actually going to mulligan the Foglet here and see what we get. Geralt is interesting. Yeah, I think since we didn't get the Crone, we can just take a pass. We don't need to do that thinning, right? We mulligan the Foglet away. We could have done that this round, but it's a bit risky. Maybe they can overcome us and then bad things happen. I think this hand should be good enough. We have a ton of points in the Crones, in the Geralt, in the Regis as well. My throat's a little bit sore, sorry. I've been talking all day. Okay, Foglets are back in the hand, not a problem. Can mulligan one of those. Plumard is probably not amazing, so we can get rid of that as well. Archspore, not really better, but you know what, it's probably okay. There might be a lock onto a Foglet or whatever. We keep the Geralt because there's most likely Gregoire in an Ithne list. Those two kind of go hand in hand usually. Now, I think we can probably Detlaff immediately. We kind of want to guarantee the value on this leader in case they start doing shenanigans and trying to deny the value. So if there's ever a 2-strength unit, I do like to just kill it with Detlaff in round 3. Not all the time, but you know, if we use a Wyvern shot there, we might just be then lacking a 2 strength to hit with Detlaff later. So we're kind of just confirming the leader value on that one. 5 points ahead, not bad. Not a bad start at all. Hand could be a little bit better, but we've got, you know, most of our good stuff. I guess Proto or Nithrol could be nice, potentially if there are artifacts that remain in their hand. Osrel, of course, eating the Caldwell are going to be very nice, but we want to save that for later because there might be tool removal in the opponent's deck, of course. It's really nice if you can have sort of only one of the big plays and then save it for the last play if you have card advantage, of course. That tends to be pretty damn good. So again, this is one of those situations where we can use a Detlaff proc to kill this rather than just, you know, killing it with the 4 damage. Because we can get the Thrive online. And we can make sure our leader ability is actually getting us value. If we don't get value with that, then bad things could happen. Now, we could have also Cyclops and then done that, but I'd rather get the Wyvern out first to get the Thrive online. We should have enough removal to deal with any, you know, potential engines that are coming anyway. So we could Arc Spore, just get the clean value, don't mind that. And I think we should probably do it in this situation. We could also go for the boost on the Weavess if we want to try to really min-max, but I think this is fine to do. We should probably be playing on the back row as well. The reason, though, we maybe put the Deathwish units on the front is because of Cyclops. He, of course, has only 2 reach and has to hit adjacent units, so you want to always play your Deathwish units on the front if you can. Coldwell on the front as well, so that Cyclops can maybe kill him if you need to. And then aside from that, of course, you're maybe playing around skirmishers, trebuchets, other things from the opponent that they might have. In this situation, we're not too worried, though. And okay, that's going to be just an archer, not a problem. Let's Cyclops the Foglet now and get the value confirmed on that play. We're 10 points up, even cards right now. We do have only 1 leader charge left, but that's still more points in theory than Ithne's two charges there. So as long as our Geralt finds value here, we should be in a great spot, I think. So once again, we find ourselves in a spot where we could take the Detlaff value should we want it, and I think we probably do. It's a little bit risky maybe. We can also wait on it. I don't mind that. Yeah, let's wait a little bit. Go for a boost. Onto Arc Spore or whatever. Doesn't really matter, I don't imagine. I guess they've got a Gregoire, so maybe we want them to actually proc it. But they've always got Ithne to do that, so I don't think that's a problem. If we're denying the Gregoire, it kind of telegraphs we don't want them to boost it up. Which then is, you know, making sure that we get Geralt value if they're getting mind gamed and thinking, you know, they don't have a Geralt if they're playing around Gregoire. So shouldn't really matter. They're always going to try to look for the value, but maybe when they'd otherwise play around Geralt, they won't in this situation. But you can kind of see how damn far ahead we are in points just because of this leader, just because of all the removal we have, right? Just play a bunch of cards that are very good value, and it ends up usually being quite good at the end of the day. Curse of Corruption, only 5 points, not particularly scary. So now we could probably just kill this, and I think we do that with either Crone or Regis. Regis, I guess, in case there's more... doesn't really matter too much, I suppose. More Scorch-like effects. I don't think there will be. We're not even too vulnerable to stuff like that. And I'm going to hold on to this bit of damage just to be safe from stuff like Octvist, I guess. It's a potential thing. Okay, we're in a bit of a trickier spot now, so we either have to play around Greg or we have to play around Geralt or whatever. I think we'll just go with Osro here. If it gets answered, it's going to be a bit annoying, but we should still be winning most of the time, I think. So let's consume that Coldwell that we have in our graveyard. Get the big 11-point swing in our favour. And hopefully Gregoire's here so we get a Geralt target. Or Sheldon, that also works perfectly fine. So now we kind of can do some maths. If it is Gregoire last card and we hit this with Geralt, will we be too bricked to actually win? Let's think. So the opponent will have 13 extra points effectively. We're gaining a 12 here, and then we'll have a further 9. So I think we should be fine, right? 9, 13. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. So let's just take the Geralt value here and not lose it. Of course, if we hit with the Wispess and they didn't have Gregoire, I think it is Gregoire last card. But if they didn't have it, then you know we might be in trouble. Okay, it's not Gregoire. Cool. So we don't debate ourselves and play into, you know, losing the game. That's good news. Okay, big Sheldon, but not big enough. Not even getting our full Detlaff hero ability value there. I mean, technically we could shoot the Arc Spore here. Get some extra value on the ping onto Synthesis, but good stuff. Alright. Got a win against Sirpumpkn. Pretty competent. And just showing off, I guess, the value that Detlaff can get. Not too much of a surprise. Anyway, let's jump into another game and see if we can win again. Alright, our next opponent is going to be Green Knight. Another Gwent celebrity. Playing a bit of Svalbard. So, we'll see how this goes. I was playing Svalbard earlier, and not bad, not too bad. Kind of a little bit vulnerable to some things, but one of those being Geralt. But, you know, in general, not a bad leader, pretty cool. Alright, Neckers, I think they're okay against Svalbard. We could keep both of them, but I think maybe dropping one copy is okay. Plumard, not a bad one, but I think we don't really need it this round. We draw one anyway. We've got the Crone, we don't really have any synergy with it, but that's fine. Objective here is, of course, just going to be to win the round if possible. Looks like tactical advantage going to be used to maybe brick our riders here. Maybe not. We'll see. Looks like that's going to be yes. Okay, now I don't know what Green Knight's running, but I wasn't running any tool removal myself. Maybe he is. Got to keep that in mind a little bit, but let's start with Neckers then. Shouldn't really be many ways for Svalbard to deal with those, I think. We've got Gimpy going onto these, which is very nice. So we'll take that in a second here, I imagine, after we get the Thrive value on these guys. And then we can think about Count Caldwell, potentially, to get the highest unit and enable riders, or, yeah, we'll see. Geralt's a possibility, but I'd rather save this for Wildkarl later on, or Olaf for the Olaf-Heim combo. There's a lot of tool units that Svalbard has that we'd really love to deal with. Gregoire, though, is painful, it must be said. Let's go for that Gimpy now, then, and try to push back a little bit in this round. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. Gregoire's definitely very good against Neckers, and if you're seeing a lot of him, then maybe you want to either mulligan them away or take him out. But I think they're still worth including, even, you know, when they're troublesome for you, to be honest. Alright, I think we can go with the Plumard onto this Gregoire to kind of mitigate him being the tallest unit. It will also proc the Necker, which is nice. In a couple of turns we'll be able to play Caldwell and then Crone. I don't know if that's going to be fast enough to be in a good spot here, but we'll see, I suppose. Definitely don't want to use the Geralt. I'm saving that for later if we can do that. Want to have some big pressure in the rounds that count later on. And the good news is, you know, quite a few good plays have come down here from the opponent. So, you know, we've seen some tempo, even if we're falling behind a little bit. I'm tempted to eat the Necker here just to get some value, get some tempo on the board. Not sure if it's correct, but I think it's probably fine. We can then go ahead and play Caldwell after, and he probably will remain the highest unit, I imagine. We can manipulate strength and whatnot after that point. Is this worth it? I mean, we lose the Thrive value, but I want to get the Crone out anyway, I think. Interestingly, can we play Caldwell here? I'm not sure if it will swap sides. I'm not sure if the bleeding happens first, or... Oh, of course, it will swap on our turn, so never mind. Never mind. We could also play Wyvern onto Greg, just to knock him down a little bit more. We're kind of 2 points behind, so this is a 3-point play. I think we can do it if we so desire. I guess we should. Try to hold on to our good plays for later. Why not? And a bit more Thrive value on the board. So if the opponent passes, we've got Caldwell into Riders. I'll take it, I do believe. With the Thrive bonuses, of course, as well, working in our favour. Despite the bleed. Otherwise, well, we'll see what we have to do. We might have to take a pass. We might have to use leader charges to even take it. Having last say is going to be pretty damn valuable against Foul Blood. It must be said. It looks like we're getting kind of pushed out here, unfortunately. So we could go with that Caldwell. We then need to take it in one, and I'm not sure we have it. We would need a lot of points to do that. We could use leader charges. It's not very feels good though. Not a good feeling. Let's just pass. To be honest, the result of this round was not too bad for us. We've got rid of, you know, quite a few crappy cards more than anything. And yeah, Caldwell might be a bit risky later, but we will have first play in round 3 to make sure he is the first play. Should that have to be the case. Crone and Foglet is a great synergy that we can utilise this round. Nithrol, pretty bad, but I'm going to keep it just so we don't brick the Foglet this turn, so we can play that out. Pretty important. Geralt's going to be hopefully good. If they're saving Wildkarl for the last play and they don't have any other big unit, then it might be bricked, but I think that's quite an unlikely thing to happen. And yeah, I think we want to play the Crone just for carryover. It's a little bit risky, but I'm assuming we're going to get a Cyclops to kind of make sure Caldwell isn't in trouble next round. Maybe a little bit risky to go for this line, but I think it'll probably be okay. We of course get the kind of carryover on our Crone that way, so empowering our other cards seems pretty good. So we're going to need to get rid of a Rider. That's definitely not a good card here. Cyclops is fine. We could then get rid of Nithrol or the Count Caldwell, whichever we feel like. I think, or even Arcspore rather. Arcspore's probably the worst here. If we anticipate having to throw Caldwell, then we don't want that, I don't think. Alright, Ozrael's not a bad one. We can eat Caldwell after he's thrown to the graveyard, potentially. Or after we Geralt a big unit, we can maybe eat it. If there's no shenanigans going on there. So I think we have to start with this, honestly. If we don't, then there's a potential for the opponent to kind of get the biggest unit very easily, and then cause all sorts of trouble for us. If they played the, Wildkarl the Big Bear to try to steal it, we can Geralt it. We can also potentially just throw the guy and Detlaff, but probably Geralt would be better line of play in that situation. Just going to be a Marauder to start things off. Fair enough. We don't have any Thrive units, so we can go ahead and just play a Rider here without too much fuss. Can also do a Detlaff charge if we want to. I don't think I need to do that though. We'll wait on him. He might be useful to remove some engines. And of course, if they have more Marauders in deck, then maybe we brick those by keeping that on the board. Gonna wait for there to be an actual Caldwell target, to throw him, and then we can eat. We can feast on the corpse afterwards. We should be in an okay spot here, but Svalbard's actually deceptive in how powerful it is. It is a very, very good leader, must be said. Let's go Ifrit, I think, just to kind of clean up that Harold. Don't have anything else to do particularly. Don't want the skulls to proc, and we don't need to proc them, so that's not too much of a problem. We could have actually killed that Marauder, might have been worth it. But, saving the charges here is not going to be the end of the world, I don't think. They're going to only self-wound, not really heal their own units that much, so it could be okay. And it might be the case that our removal is a little bit more enabled, with that Detlaff helping out, so we'll see though. I'm curious what the kind of finisher will be. Typically I'm running the Heim Olaf and whatnot. Oh, it looks like it is a Marauder. Kind of anticipated that, but does get value with the skulls, of course. We're still pretty far ahead though, so I'm not too sad about that. I don't anticipate there being any artifacts, so we could just throw out a Nithrol here, but Crone is also pretty damn safe, so I think I'm going to get rid of that, get that out the hand here. I think we can start using a Detlaff proc or two here. Get a bit of value. I don't want to play into Gimpy though, so I guess we already have with the Riders, and that wasn't a play that was made, so maybe that's not a problem. We can play Crone. They now anticipate maybe 6 damage from us, which is... I don't know how relevant that is, but something to think about at least. Alright, Burner has appeared, and Cyclops is looking very nice, so let's get rid of that from the hand. My one concern here is a dead Geralt potentially being a thing. Could happen. If it does, we might be in trouble. The rest of our hand is very, very solid, but, we'll see how it goes. Got to keep an eye on that graveyard as well in case... Oh, it looks like Roach was in the hand? No, Roach came out earlier. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Might have been a Fanatic that was discarded. Not sure. If Geralt's dead, we might be in a little bit of trouble here, but we'll see. We'll see. Svalbard's representing a lot of points. It's very scary. If we end up having dead cards, it's going to be troublesome, but would imagine there's something going on here. Yeah, Wildkarl. Sure. Seems like Geralt's going to be good, and that makes our Ozrael even bigger if there isn't, something to synergize with that. So let's probably just pop off the Geralt, I think. Yeah, I think that's fine, and then we can like snipe the Olaf with Detlaff potentially if they're going to go that route. We don't have dominance, though, enabled right now, which is a bit of a shame. But this is just a mighty fine play, right? 15 points. There might be a renew or something, I guess. Be kind of scary, but not the end of the world. We're pretty far ahead, even if Proto doesn't get us the full value. I think we'll be okay, maybe. 8 points with the hero ability, potentially. Still available, so... Just the amount of control we have is so crazy, right? Looks like they're using a charge on that rather than an Olaf or something, so that's good news for us. Maybe, okay, Olaf in the hand. Interesting. I think it's probably safe for us to just chew on that champion. And let's go for that. Very big unit, we can then regain dominance. Maybe we'll get, you know, tool removal down, but that's a risk we were willing to take, I think, in this situation. For that big Oswald. Don't have last say anyway, so what does it really matter? Olaf not doing anything right now. We can, of course, try to kind of remove this if he damages it. Maybe Canute is a card that they're wanting to play with it. It could be a bit scary. I mean, there's the option to kind of go Regis and double Detlaff it down, but I think we're probably just missing value if we do that most of the time. Maybe not. Maybe that's the correct line of play. If we're anticipating Butchers or whatever. Or Canute. Canute Olaf's a decent combo, to be honest. I mean, it's fine, isn't it? It's basically, yeah, it's a good combo. It's a good combo. But we do have dominance still, so they haven't shut that down, which is good news for us. It might mean they have tool removal though, which is a bit scary. Let's go ahead and play the Proto Flader. Do we want to... Probably kill off the Bear Abomination, I suppose. There's no need for us to have a tool unit at this stage, so we can do this. With the Detlaff proc, we'll kind of play around some healing or whatever. A little bit. Nithral probably doing nothing, and Regis, well, yeah, no. He's just an 8, isn't he? 8 for 8, not too shabby. So we may as well play Nithral now. There's not really anything we can play around, right? By keeping him. And then we got Regis plus that Detlaff proc to finish the game out. And there's the kind of tool removal payoff, I guess. I think we're okay here, though. Not really vulnerable to much. Gimpy is a good card, but it's not that good, I don't think. Managing to take down Svalbard, it looks like. By quite a wide margin, I imagine. But he put up a fight. He did put up a fight. Anyhow, I hope that shows the strength of this deck, being able to remove so much stuff and just having a ton of cards that drop for big value. There are other variations you can try with Spear Tip and Katakan maybe for other options in the deck. You maybe want to try without Gregoire, you can do that. Maybe without Count Coldwell for other cards. Experiment, try it out. But this kind of form of Detlaff is definitely, I think, the best deck right now. Has a ton of good matchups. Does very well against a lot of stuff, and just very strong in general. Pretty fun to play, honestly, when you're winning a lot of games as well, I will say. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Do subscribe if you would like more videos, of course, and I will see you next time.